Syngenta Canada and C&M Seeds present the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com.
So it of course takes a lot of time and effort to bring a new variety to the market. We don't have our own breeding program at C&M Seeds, but we are sourcing genetics from around the world from several breeding programs, and that is literally around the world. So South America, Europe, US, even Western Canada, some of our local breeders. And just to give you an idea of the time frame involved, we would access some of those lines from the breeders, say 6 years after the initial cross or 7. They would then be in our program for another 5 years, or 3 to 5 years, to bring them to the point where they're commercially ready to go. So when we're evaluating for new varieties to release to farmers, certainly we're looking for lines to fit not only our commercial stream, so that would go right into the commodity markets, but also looking for special traits, so special quality traits in particular, to fit our identity preserved markets, to bring value to everybody in the value chain. Part of that process, of course, we would look at everything agronomically first for yield, disease, all diseases, fusarium, mildew, septoria. We certainly rate for everything that shows up in the plots, right down to plant height and lodging, and would bring lines through the process to eventually hit the farmers' fields. So just to give you an idea of how many varieties we look at in a year at our research plots here, behind me there's probably about 1,800 winter wheat plots alone, and of that we would split that out to look at over 800 varieties this year of all classes, so soft red winter, hard red winter, maybe some soft whites if we have them. So they would be, we would get those in, they're all packaged to a specific weight to come up with to the 1.6 million seeds per acre that farmers typically grow. So that gives us also a good estimation of what the growers would see when they get to the field. So what we do throughout the season, of course, I have a crew who are wandering behind me, taking notes. We are regularly walking the plots almost every day to look for whatever diseases happen to show up. So just to give you an example, this plot, what we would do, we walk up, open the plot up, and see what is present. So this year we had a fair bit of powdery mildew present. We have some septoria coming in. There's been leaf rust south of us in plots, so we will be keeping our eyes out for all those notes. Everything is evaluated on a 0 to 9 scale, so 0 being none, 9 being worst case scenario. We also certainly keep our eye out for fusarium. So in this case we have a head coming in here. It's pretty isolated yet, but that's what fusarium looks like, slightly bleached heads. And again, we this year had an armyworm issue. Not so many in the research plots themselves, which is a good thing. We do have some feeding, but the fields behind us were pretty heavy, so we have sprayed for armyworm here. So we do look to get the best results we can. Again, we take plant heights, so you can see we have a taller one behind us. This one is slightly shorter. We take notes of what's on and not on for our marketing people, for marketing purposes. And lodging, anything that we think would be of interest to farmers and to that they would want to see in a variety. So right now we're standing in the middle of the Ontario Performance Trial for winter wheat, and I should add we do have, Palmerston is a location for all crops that go into the info sheet that you can get off the website. So a plug for the committee is gocereals.ca to find that information. So part of the process of, or one of the things we have been looking at from the committee is to evaluate the varieties under a managed and unmanaged regimen. So the unmanaged, it's just a standard nitrogen application. The managed, we're applying both a leaf and head fungicide at the appropriate times to see how that impacts varieties as far as yield rank. So what we do then is we will spray at the appropriate times. We go through and rate the diseases to evaluate the differences from the spray, and then of course it goes through a statistical program that gives us those yield numbers. So for the most part, our research program is run, I would say, under an unmanaged regimen. We want to, of course, evaluate and bring forward the genetics that have the good base for the farmers to start with. But having Gone through that process, of course, some diseases will shift as the variety ages, and we want to make sure that the farmers have the best options available and all those tools in their kit. So just an example I'm going to start with, we have the same varieties front and back. This would be the managed portion, so it's quite green. Leaf disease is fairly low. We have a little bit of septoria. So that again has had both leaf and head fungicide. And then to move to the portion that's been unsprayed, as you can see, certainly there's a lot more leaf death. Powdery mildew is present fairly thick and quite high in the plant, as is septoria. So that certainly is a good example of control using fungicides along with the best genetic resistance you can get.